Okay, in this video we'll be taking a look at spell check, which is introduced in Control 5.5. For those that have ever used Microsoft Office or really any other word processing type of program or even any of the latest browsers, you're probably familiar with exactly what this feature is. We've now embedded it inside of Control, so it'll automatically do spell checking for you. You can put the little red squiggly lines, which most of us are familiar with so far, in the relevant fields. Now, we didn't tie in spell check to every single field in the system. Part of that is because we shouldn't spell check everything. So if we're looking at part names and things along those lines, or fields where you're typing on a lot of abbreviations or shorthand or what have you, we didn't want the system to be constantly checking all of those words, but we did attach the spell check mechanism to most of the common areas where you would want spell checking to actually happen. So what we'll do is we'll just dive in and actually take a look inside of Control and what this looks like. So in Control, if I want to set this up or enable it or adjust any options or anything, you're probably used to going to Setup and System Setup to get the things, but if you go in there, you'll notice spell check is not actually in there. It's actually a user level option. So we'll go to Setup and User Options. We'll come on down to Spell Check Options. We'll see I've already got it enabled in my system, and you can read the little summary of notes, kind of tells you a little bit about it, what have you. If I click on Edit, I can set my preferences. This is very similar to preferences that you'll see in a lot of other programs, whether it's Word or Outlook or whatever it may be. Just basically the treatment of how any of the spell check stuff should happen. I can also set what language I'm in. So am I in English? Am I in English and British or Australian? There are some other dictionaries available. We'll talk about those in one second. In my case, my primary language is just regular English, but I do want to introduce some additional dictionaries that should be used when we're doing spell checking. Particularly, I want the industry dictionary that's been set up, and I want the technical dictionary that's been set up. These are two that basically just have some common industry terms that would normally not validate as a correctly spelled word, but in the sign and graphics industry, everybody knows what they mean, or it's a relevant word there. Same thing in the technical dictionary, things that are related to this particular industry. So I've got those two checked off. You can add more as you want, and it just basically increases the dictionary file that's used to either validate or invalidate words. There's another tab here for custom dictionary. For any of you that have worked with any of the dictionary or the spelling check types of stuff in the past, you probably routinely added your own words or corrections to it. This is very common with company names and things like that. For instance, Sirius, the way that it's spelled. If you type that in Word and you've never typed it before, then it's going to come up and it's going to tell you, hey, this is incorrectly spelled. Well, when you do your spell check, you probably have added that to your dictionary. You may have done some auto-correction. If you're always in the habit of typing the incorrectly, you're just not quick enough on the keyboard or what have you, your sequence is wrong, then you can help add those auto-corrections. You can add in exclusions and things like that as well. If you've set up any of these preferences and you want to default back to kind of what the basic was before you ever changed anything, if you just hit the Reset Preferences button, that'll take care of it for you. Once you actually make that change, just hit Save. And that's really all there is to enabling spell checking. Now let's actually take a look and see how it's used in the system. So if we come and let's just say, let's create a new estimate, and I kind of type in the description field, let's say it's a grand opening sign. Well, I left the A out of grand, and we see that now I've got the red squigglies there. I could either just go manually correct that, or I could right-click on the word, and I get a list of choices, just as you do in many programs. I can click grand, or I can come down and actually click on spelling, in which case I get a little pop-up window here, and I get my suggestions. I can either choose to add this to the dictionary, ignore it, whatever I want to do. In this case, I'll just right-click on it, choose grand, and we'll notice it changed. If I then come over to the Notes tab, for instance, and let's just say I was typing in here, and again, we'll just stick with the same word, and we'll say grand opening, sign, and we'll notice that, again, it's going to pick it all up. If I right-click and choose spelling, it's going to open up the little prompt for me, and I can go word by word. So I want to change that one, I want to change that one, and that one. And we'll notice there are no misspelled words in this message. Congratulations. The spell check will also work on any of the notes fields here. It'll also work in the memo fields inside of a product. So if I'm looking at, let's just say the design product, And inside of that design product, we'll notice we've got memo fields, which are just those big text block fields for description and production notes. And if I type something in here, let's just say grand opening sign, we'll see I can spell check those as well. And I can change those words. If maybe I didn't want grand to be there, I can highlight it and go to thesaurus. I want to choose something else. Then I can use the thesaurus to pick a different word. Very similar to any other applications with spell check. And you'll see the same thing employed in whether I'm looking at estimates, whether I'm looking at orders, any of those note type fields or description fields that you have available, those will get spell checked. But we don't want to do it on any kind of drop downs where we're doing like part names and things like that, where you're choosing different vinyls, where a lot of shorthand or abbreviated stuff is in the system. And that concludes the review of spell check and Control 5.5.